So today we'll be discussing one more interesting topic in pediatrics, that is neonatal polycythemia. So everyone is aware of the definition of polycythemia. Polycythemia is nothing but hemoglobin which is high in content and which is having potential of causing symptoms pertaining to hyperviscosity. The polycythemia which you are aware of in adults or in infant or in children is slightly different from the polycythemia which you are worried about in neonates, because in polycythemia in neonates can in itself be a problem and might complicate the recovery of the baby in a neonatal intensive care unit because of various reasons. So in today's class, we'll be discussing the topic of polycythemia. We'll be going first through the MCQs, which will ask you about what is the correct definition of polycythemia in an infant, how do you define it, and what is the correlation between hemoglobin as well as PCV or packed cell volume or the hematocrit. What are the clinical manifestations or what is the clinical presentations when you start suspecting polycythemia as the etiology for the symptoms in your baby. What is the situations where you start doing neonatal screening for polycythemia? What is the etiology of polycythemia? And of course, we'll be trying to look out for clinical manifestations and management. So all will be covered today in a briefest possible way, yet in the most effective way in an MCQ fashion. So this is the first question for the day on the polycythemia. Diagnosis of polycythemia is made in the presence of a venous hematocrit value of more than how much? So the correct answer for this is 65%. Now in general, they say that a value of 65% or more is called as polycythemia. Polycythemia. Now remember, polycythemia in general the definition is 65%, but there are two terminologies. One is asymptomatic polycythemia, other one is symptomatic polycythemia. Now the definition of symptomatic and asymptomatic polycythemia is made slightly different, because if you have an asymptomatic patient with a PCV or a hematocrit value of more than 75%, I will consider treatment of this person. If it is more than 65% in a symptomatic patient, I would consider again treatment of polycythemia by doing phlebotomy or volume exchange. But if the patient is having asymptomatic polycythemia with a fat cell volume of 65 to 75%, here I can just wait for plasma exchange or or just hydrate the patient and see whether he improves or not. So though the definition of polycythemia is more than 65%, there are different cutoffs for the management. The definition of polycythemia in a neonate is a PCV of more than or equal to 65%, and when it comes to the management, any patient with symptomatic polycythemia will require the treatment in the form of partial exchange transfusion. If the patient is asymptomatic and still if you want to treat the patient by partial exchange transfusion, then the packed cell volume or the hematocrit value should be more than 75%. In asymptomatic patients where the hematocrit value is between 65 to 75, then in such situations, you can consider hydration or monitor for the symptoms depending upon the patient's clinical condition. So this is in brief regarding the diagnosis of definition of polycythemia. Again, to reiterate the fact, the Flaherty and Stark's Manual of Neonatal Care defines polycythemia as a venous hematocrit value of more than 65%, or in terms of hemoglobin, you can consider it as a concentration of more than 22 gram per deciliter of hemoglobin that is constituting neonatal polycythemia. So now you also know that hemoglobin values, normal values are different for different age group, including the effect of prematurity. So, in terms of standard deviation, if the hemoglobin is more than 2 standard deviations above the mean, then also we'll consider the diagnosis of neonatal polycythemia. Now, they'll ask you if the hemoglobin is 22, what is the likely hematocrit value? So, that is one sort of question. Or if the hematocrit value is 65%, what is the value of hemoglobin? So let us assume that if hematocrit is 65% as in this case, now if I divide it by 3, I get a rough value of hemoglobin as 22. That means PCV or packed cell volume, also called as hematocrit, can be derived from the formula 3 times the hemoglobin value of the baby. So if you use this formula, you can derive hematocrit or PCV from the baseline hemoglobin concentration. So the relationship between hemoglobin and hematocrit or PCV is 3 times the hemoglobin. Now, at the same time, you should also know that the prevalence of polycythemia is to the tune of up to 15% for term small for gestational age baby. Now, this is very important. This is very low when compared to that of 2% at that of term babies. So, preterm premature babies are at risk of developing neonatal polycythemia because of various reasons. But in term babies, if at all you want to suspect risk of polycythemia, then better they be small for gestational age. Small for gestational age. So this is about neonatal polycythemia. With this, we go to the clinical presentation of a baby who is a term male infant, that is a male baby who was born at term, but the weight is 2.2 kilograms. So that means it's small for gestational age and a male baby. So we have clues like male baby and small for gestational age. Now, this 2.2 kilogram baby with uneventful antepartum and intrapartum period has presented with lethargy and apnea at 2 hours of birth. On examination, it reveals normal vitals with plethoric appearance with acrocyanosis, poor pulses, and a systolic murmur in tricuspid area. So the clues which are given are: he is a male baby, he has small for gestational age, and the features of lethargy, apnea. Now, lethargy and apnea can happen both with hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia, in addition to polycythemia also. Disseminatory intravascular coagulation will present with either bleed or thrombosis, so this is less likely of the diagnosis. But how to differentiate A, B, and C? We do not have glucose value, we do not have calcium values, and we do not have hemoglobin values. At this point of time, you should see for the other clues in the in the question. So plethoric appearance. Plethoric appearance means congested phase. Congested phase. Acrocyanosis. This congested phase and acrocyanosis are very much common in patients with polycythemia. Polycythemia. The other clue for the polycythemia is persistent pulmonary hypertension in this neonate, which has resulted in systolic murmur. Systolic murmur. So, the presence of polycythemia delays the fall in the PA pressures in the baby, which happens immediately after birth. Then this results in a situation where the patient is having pulmonary hypertension, tricuspid regurgitation, and this tricuspid regurgitation will result in systolic murmur in the tricuspid area. So this is the another clue for this baby having polycythemia. Now, this is how the clinical presentation of polycythemia is. Now we move on to the next. What is the etiology of polycythemia? So in the previous slide, you have just seen that there was one etiology which was small for gestational age baby. But here you see that now not only that, there are multiple other causes of polycythemia. Take it: placental insufficiency, post-maturity, toxemia of pregnancy, drugs, severe maternal heart disease, maternal smoking, and infant of diabetic mother, neonatal thyroid issues, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, all the trisomies which you ever have heard of, Beckwith-Wiedemann syndrome. All these are causes of increased erythropoiesis which has resulted in polycythemia. Sometimes there may be polycythemia because of secondary causes. Like if you delay the cord clamping, the amount of blood transfused from the mother to the baby is going to be more, and there will be polycythemia. Maternal to fetal transfusion and twin to twin transfusion, these issues which are going to happen in twin pregnancies can also be a cause or etiology of polycythemia. So this is in brief regarding etiology of polycythemia. Now we go to the clinical manifestations of the baby with polycythemia. All of the following can be manifestations of polycythemia except options are jaundice, thrombocytosis, hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia. Though hypoglycemia, hypocalcemia both can mimic polycythemia, you should understand that both hypocalcemia and hypoglycemia can be precipitated by polycythemia as well when you see the clinical manifestation and the pathophysiology of polycythemia. Now, when polycythemia is there, there is increased red blood cell count. When there is increased red blood cell count, there is increased risk of hemolysis, and hemolysis will release bilirubin. So, by default, I can say that hypocalcemia, hypoglycemia, and hyperbilirubinemia, that is jaundice, can be a part of polycythemia. But what is not the part of polycythemia? The one which is not the part of polycythemia is Because of the hyperviscosity, there is activation of the intravascular coagulation cascade that results in consumption of the platelets. Thereby, this patient will have thrombocytopenia rather than thrombocytosis. So, answer for this question becomes B. So, if you look into the manifestations of patients with polycythemia, the pathophysiology mainly evolves around the hyperviscosity which is caused by polycythemia. Hyperviscosity results in a situation where the cell will eat up more of glucose and calcium, thereby resulting in hypoglycemia and hypocalcemia. Increased red blood cell turnover results in hyperbilirubinemia. And this hyperviscosity, whenever it is flowing through a narrow capillaries, this results in sluggishness of the microcirculation where the gastrointestinal tract will be congested, resulting in necrotizing enterocolitis. The renals will be affected, resulting in renal vein thrombosis and acute renal failure. The central nervous system is affected, resulting in irritability, seizures, jitteriness, and cerebrovascular accidents. The cardiovascular system is affected, resulting in tachycardia, cardiac failure, and tachypnea. The coagulation is affected, resulting in thrombocytopenia and DIC. Now, the next question is whom to screen in order to identify the neonates who are at risk to be looked for and managed accordingly. So, the options are the small for gestation age, infants of diabetic mother, infants with trisomy 13 or 18, and extreme preterm. The question is which of them will not require a screening? Which of them will not require screening? The answer for this question seems to be D. The reason is a small for gestation age, as you have seen in a case scenario, is well known to have been associated with polycythemia. And in the etiology of polycythemia, we have also seen that infant of diabetic mothers are well known to be having at risk of polycythemia. Trisomy 13 or 18 also will have a risk of polycythemia. So, what is the extreme preterm at risk of? The extreme preterm is at risk of anemia of prematurity rather than polycythemia. So, this is the reason why the answer for this question is option D. The answer for this question is option D. So, this is about routine screening. So, in general, the routine screening for neonatal polycythemia is done in those patients who are having symptomatic hypoglycemia, hyperbilirubinemia, and thrombocytopenia, either small for age or large for gestation age. Post-term infants are going to have a high risk of polycythemia when compared to that of extreme preterms. Intrauterine growth retardation again will have been associated with polycythemia. Infants of diabetic mothers, monochorionic twins, and infants with chromosomal abnormalities. All of them will be at risk of having polycythemia. So the last thing to be discussed in the topic of polycythemia is the management of polycythemia. So what is the management of polycythemia? So the management of polycythemia is pretty simple. The first thing which you have to look for whenever you are suspecting polycythemia is confirm the diagnosis by doing a hematocrit or PCV value. If the hematocrit or PCV value is 65% or more, the diagnosis of polycythemia is considered. You need to exclude dehydration and check for weight loss, which will rule out hemoconcentration as a cause of polycythemia. That will be a pseudo cause, pseudo polycythemia. Now, once you have ruled out hemoconcentration, the next thing is to see whether the patient is symptomatic or asymptomatic. If the patient is symptomatic, partial exchange transfusion is the key. If the patient is asymptomatic and is having a hematocrit value of 75% or more, the partial exchange transfusion is still on. But if the patient is having a hematocrit value of less than 75%, then the management is going to slightly differ. If the patient is having 65 to 69% hematocrit value and the patient is asymptomatic, just monitor for symptoms and keep quiet. If the patient does not develop symptoms, ensure adequate breastfeeding, everything will be fine. If the patient is having polycythemia in the absence of symptoms but is on the higher side, that is 70 to 74%, now here you can start considering fluid relaxation or giving IV fluids to the baby. So this is in brief regarding management of polycythemia. So the volume what you have to exchange is calculated by the formula blood volume into the observed hematocrit value minus desired hematocrit value divided by observed hematocrit value. So what is the observed hematocrit value? It is usually 65% in case of symptomatic polycythemia and 75% in case of asymptomatic polycythemia. What is the desired desired value? The desired value is around 45. That is 15 into 3. If the hemoglobin of a neonate is considered to be 15 to 18, then TCV of 45 is the desired value. So the blood volume 80 ml per kg for a 75 ml per kg for a term neonate into observed value would be 65 and desired value would be 45 divided by 65. So this will be the volume of the blood that has to be exchanged in order to get back this patient from symptomatic polycythemia into a normal range. So this is in brief regarding the management of polycythemia. So here we complete the topic of polycythemia. I hope you have understood the topic of polycythemia. We have discussed the various aspects of polycythemia right away from the definition of polycythemia, the etiology of polycythemia, the clinical presentation of polycythemia, where we have to routinely screen the patients for neonatal polycythemia, and what are the manifestations of polycythemia, and also we have touched upon how to manage a case of polycythemia. This is it, and see you next time.
Best training, peaceful environment, PG medical entrance exam preparation were my expectations. I got them at Speed Medical Village in Kanchipuram. Today, I am a PG topper.
Speed Medical Village, a unique eco-friendly campus dedicated for PG preparation. Speed Medical Institute, a complete solution for medical education.